Hi friends, today we are going to discuss about the constructor. So constructor is a special type of method. Constructor is a special type of method. So what is the difference between the constructor and a method? Now let's see what is the difference between the constructor and a method. So if you see here constructor, so I have given the class name as the constructor ex and one method have given here. One method I have given that is the show method. Okay. So So whenever I want to call the show method or whenever I want to call the method, we have to create the object, then we have to call the method. No? Okay. So here to give ex dot show, it will execute the method. It will execute the method. It will execute the method. Okay. So but if you give the constructor, if you give the constructor, we no need to create the object, we no need to call the constructor, we no need to create the object, we no need to call the constructor. It will automatically execute the constructor. Okay, it will automatically execute the constructor. And so if you want to call one more time method, one more time method here, if you want to call the one more time method, we have to give ex dot show method. It will execute one more time. It will execute one more time. If you call this, okay. So it has executed two times. So if you call again, it will execute one more time. But constructor will not execute two or three times. It will execute only one time. So now let's see how to create the constructor. What are the rules we have to follow? Now let's see. So here, if you see here, the constructor name should be same as the class name. The constructor name should be the class name. Constructor will not have any return type. The constructor will not have any return type. So but method, we have the void keyword. Method, we have the void keyword. The constructor will won't have the any return type. So for suppose if you see here, what is the rule we have to follow? Constructor name should be the class name. So here we have to give class name as the constructor name. Okay, constructor name. So then it won't have any return type. We no need to create any return type. So here we have to create a constructor. Okay. So sys out. This is the this is constructor. This is constructor. So we already discussed it, right? So we no need to create any object for the constructor. We no need to call the constructor. It will automatically execute the constructor. Now let's see. I save this and then execute Java applications. So constructor has executed. So I did not give any object. I did not create any object. I did not call the constructor, but it will automatically call the constructor. So if you want to call the constructor one more time, we cannot call the constructor. It will execute only one time. So this is about the constructor. So in constructor we have the two types. One is the default constructor, another one is a parameterized constructor. So one is the default constructor, another one is parameterized constructor. So we in method we have seen, right, default method and parameterized method. So this is the perfect example for this default constructor. Default constructor means without having any parameters, we can call it as a default constructor. So if you pass the any values here, so for suppose here I'm passing a into a. Here I'm passing into a, and here I'm giving a plus here. Okay. So only equal to 9. Okay. then execute now. The constructor 9. So if you pause the any parameters, then we can call it as a parameterized constructor. If you won't pause the any values, we can call it as a default constructor. Okay, default constructor. So if you give any other data type ex, so if you pause here, I'm giving string is is okay, here we're giving one plus chapter. Okay, so here we have to give name. Here I'm giving Java. Okay, execute now. It is a parameterized constructor. If you want to pass the any parameter, we can call it as a default constructor. And one more thing, so whatever the types we have, method overloading and method overriding. In constructor also we have the constructor overloading and constructor overriding is also there. So what is the constructor overloading? So whenever the constructor name should be the same, the constructor name is same so if the constructor have the two or more times with the same name, the constructor have the two or more times with same name, we can call it as a constructor with the different parameters. So if you give the constructor name should be the same I'm giving here, same only, but the constructor we have to give different. Okay, so here, so why we are not getting any other? Why? Because constructor the constructor names are same but different parameters. Different parameter. This is another constructor. This is another constructor. The parameter are different. So we can call it as a method overloading. So same method, if you pause in the parent class, in child class, we can call it as a method overriding. Method overriding.